So welcome everyone who's here tonight, and I'll call to order a meeting of the District Metchosin Environment and Natural Areas Committee. Good to see everybody. I wanted to start just with a territorial acknowledgement to say that we're meeting tonight on the lands of the Shiana people who've been here many, many years and in relationship with the land and the seas, and I'm happy to be here. So we have an agenda, additions and approval. Are there any additions to the agenda? Any changes people would like to see? Great, so we'll just adopt the agenda then as presented and circulated. And we'll start with public participation. Would anybody like to speak this evening? A quiet night. Great, okay, well, seeing nobody, then we'll start up. So the first thing that we're going to do is adopt the minutes or look at the Parks Committee meeting minutes of September 26, 2022. And I think everyone will be aware at this point, but Mayor Little rejigged the standing committees. So the Parks Committee no longer exists. And instead we have the Environment and Natural Areas Committee and the, in terms of reporting relationships, MEASC is sort of, I'll be a liaison with MEASC, and Councillor Shukin in the Planning Committee will have the relationship with the Parks and Trails Advisory Select Committee. So if we look at the minutes then that came, the Parks Committee, are people happy with the minutes?
I'd move adoption.
Thank you. So moved by Councillor Shukin and seconded by Councillor Epp. Call the question. All in favor? Great, thank you. So just take a minute to look at those minutes because I think there's a few things just worthy of note. The first one to mention is under Correspondence, Robin Tunnicliffe, the chair of the Agricultural Advisory Select Committee, requested funding for the Metchosin Agricultural Plan. And just so everyone's aware, that will next come up, I believe, in the Finance Standing Committee minutes in accordance with the minutes here, given it won't be coming back to the Parks Committee. Then item number 6B, the Weir Beach Stairs Access Correspondence, that's been referred to the next council, so it'll come up at a council meeting in accordance with the minutes here. And then it's the third item that I want just to point out where it's going is the staff report on animal control amendment bylaw 676 and the staff report municipal ticket information authorization amendment bylaw number 679 2022. That's item 7A and B. It looks to me like those are likely headed towards the Planning Committee, given they're sort of coming up through PTASC and liaison and that sort of thing. But we'll work on that. That's the Dogs in Metchosin working group with some material coming. So that being said, we'll move on to receipt of minutes of the Environmental Advisory Select Committee, October 25th.
I'll move receipt.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, super. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And none opposed. Thank you. That's passed. The next thing on our agenda is business arising. And I don't see any business arising, but would anybody else like to mention anything from the two sets of minutes that we've just gone through? All good? Okay. We'll move to Councillor's update then. So the first item I wanted to note that Council has appointed Dr. Anna Hall and reappointed Dr. Annie McKinnon and Gary Fletcher to MEASC. And I wanted to say a particular thanks to all the members of that MEASC committee for their important contributions to our community. On the next item I had was the Bufferlands Green Space, and of course, I think many people are aware there was an opinion survey conducted, and we're just going to start making a plan for the next layer of consultation. On April 14th, residents were notified that the district would be planning an open house following the survey. I'll be meeting the planner tomorrow. Planner, I don't know Catherine's last name. Catherine Lizishin. I'll meet her tomorrow and we'll begin talking about that, and we'll have more to report in the future. And then we talked about the Trans Mountain Pipeline project at last council meeting. That's gone to MEAS for comment. In addition, we talked about a declaration, United We Stand for Old Growth Forest, and that's also gone to MEAS. So we'll expect some updates from the MEAS committee on those two topics. The next item I wanted to make people aware of was the Home Energy Navigator program. So I noticed this there was an advertisement in the Times Colonist the other day, and I thought, oh, what's that? And I called them up, and this is a program that's been set up by CRD and local government. So Metchosin's been involved in developing the program in terms of putting our energy behind it. And what it's about is helping homeowners do energy refits and accessing the provincial and federal rebates that are available. Anyone can call them up. They're very quick. I sent in a note last Sunday. I was called on Monday and had an appointment on Thursday. And they're sort of helping sort of figure out what one might do in a house and what things, what rebates and things are available for a homeowner. So it's quite responsive. And if people are interested, jump in now. It's a good time, whether they're not so busy. It's run out of the CRD. And I did have a request, and that'd be that district staff investigate additional means to promote this program to our residents. And I wonder if someone would make a motion in that regard.
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Super. And a seconder?
Second.
So moved by Mayor Little and seconded by Councillor Shukin.
So I think your task to staff is a little open-ended. What are you meaning? Maybe you should make suggestions in terms of direct the district staff to investigate additional means. I mean, what do you mean? To put it on the website? I'm just wondering if you could give it some direction. It's sort of open-ended. Oh, sorry, it's sort of open-ended. You don't want them to go down a fishing expedition.
No, just seeking some advice on what might be done. The kind of things that I could think about would be to put an ad in the Muse newspaper, put a sign up outside the door here on our bulletin board where we post everything, that kind of thing. But I don't have a specific recommendation. I thought, being new to the job, the staff might have some advice for me in that regard or for us. But if there is some ideas.
Yeah, so would you be proposed to using that kind of thing for, say, the refit with Metchosin school?
Certainly.
What's going on there so that there's no problems with the heating there?
That's the kind of thing that we might look at. Thanks so much for that
Kind of thing.
suggestion.
Yeah. Councillor Gray, it's common with these kind of programs that there are resources on websites that like they're built-in tools to whether it's graphics or material for advertisements. So that might even be a direction for staff to have a look at.
So those are a couple of ideas. One would be an ad in the Muse, another would be something on the front door, and then whatever we might do in terms of promoting further with the website materials. Other ideas? Other more to discuss?
Well, certainly our website as well.
It's on our website at the moment, yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Councillor Donaldson.
Would somebody from this program be interested in doing a presentation?
I don't know. It's kind of a call-in affair, so you call in, you register, you give them your name, your address, and that kind of thing. And then when you speak with them, they ask you about the age of your house, what kind of improvements you've done, if you've had an energy fit guidance, that sort of thing. It's quite user-friendly, I would say, but somebody might be interested in the presentation. Any more discussion? Maybe I'll call the question. All in favor? Thanks so much. That unanimous approval. So the next item was the development of the Metchosin Climate Action Plan. When we were just coming into being as a new council, there was the climate survey was going to go out in the Muse, and we held back on that, delayed it, in the thinking that we might get together and talk a little bit about things, but then also there was some concern or interest in putting some climate adaptation questions in the questionnaire, in addition to the idea of just reducing greenhouse gas emissions. I'm meeting with the planner tomorrow, and we'll discuss that a little bit further and come back to council with some ideas there. And the final item I had in my council's update.
Councillor.
Sir?
Councillor Gray, could we also have a timeline regarding that when you talk to the planner about the climate action plan? When are we going to roll out the survey questions? And then also, when are we going to begin discussions with PINA after those questions and survey comments are in?
Certainly. I would expect that the planner and myself would carry on as had happened before with Councillor McKinnon, that I'd be in touch with PINA Consulting and get some ideas and then find out the timeline for them. There may also be a budgetary implications of us having delayed the survey, so I want to get all that information together and bring back to Council. More discussion on that point? Hearing none, we'll move on to the 7th item, which was a District of Metchosin declaration on the climate emergency and biodiversity crisis. So as a group prior to our inauguration, we talked about the idea of a climate and biodiversity declaration. I'll just read it to you now. What I'm hoping is that we would have a motion that the Environment and Natural Area Standing Committee recommends that Council adopt the following declaration on the climate emergency and biodiversity crisis. Whereas climate change and the planetary biodiversity crisis are real, human-caused, and global emergencies that require immediate, rapid, and large-scale cuts in greenhouse gas emissions, and whereas British Columbia has experienced flooding disasters with loss of livestock and widespread destruction of infrastructure, and whereas British Columbians have died in landslides and catastrophic damage has been done to BC highway infrastructure following climate-related atmospheric river rainfall events, and whereas there are 94 bird species that are highly vulnerable due to climate change in British Columbia alone, and whereas 600 British Columbians lost their lives in a climate-related heat dome and the town of Lytton burned to the ground, and whereas rural communities worldwide often face immediate and severe consequences of climate change, and whereas municipal governments can and should make decisions and adopt policies, including budgets and bylaws, that will accelerate and significantly increase the scale of greenhouse gas emission reductions, both of the district itself and of the broader community. And whereas municipal governments can and should make decisions about and adopt policies that will prepare the community and mitigate climate change and negative climate-related events, be it resolved, and the date here is the date of the next council meeting, on the 5th day of December in the year 2022, that the District of Metchosin, 1, recognizes the global climate emergency and biodiversity crisis, 2, will promptly adopt a climate action plan to inform future decision-making, and 3, commits to make decisions and adopt policies accordingly. Would someone around the table like to move a motion to that effect?
I would be happy to make a motion that the declaration that you just read be advanced to Council for consideration for adoption.
Thank you. And a seconder? So moved by Councillor Shukin and seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Thanks so much. Discussion.
Thanks there, Councillor Gray, and I appreciate all the work that you have done on this. The one element that really brought this home to me in terms of the value of this resolution is further down, and it's the discussion about rural communities, how rural communities worldwide often face immediate and severe consequences of climate change, and we see that especially with the town of Lytton, as you say, burning down. So yeah, and there are so many examples globally as well. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, or anybody like to say anything in particular? Mayor Little?
Yeah, so when we were having discussions prior to the inauguration, actually, we had talked about the implications for the climate emergency, the toolkit. And in the ICE toolkit, it mentions 5 different ICE tools. The well-being to consider as a local government. In our decision-making, consider well-being, mitigation, resiliency, adaptation, and natural assets. And I'm just wondering, did you review this toolkit and keep it in mind when you were crafting the resolutions?
No, I don't know who ICE is.
This is the implications for a climate emergency, part of the We Can. This was put out as a part of the We Can and the climate champions. What was it called? Climate champions, people within municipal government that were advancing climate change mitigation strategies.
Right, and I think it's a Western Canada Climate Action Network. And yes, I didn't recognize the acronym ICE, but some of the wording from here is from the We Can resolution that climate champions, people who registered to be climate champions, were asked to put forward the moment they were elected. And for people's information following the election, they probably know that I was put myself forward as a climate champion, as did Mayor Little and Councillor Donaldson. And so some of the wording is from those documents, although I didn't remember the ICE words particularly.
Okay. I think what I'll do is I'll circulate this for everybody so that they can keep it in their own toolkit.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion? We'll call the question then. All in favor? And none opposed? Passed. Thank you. Now, I believe I find myself in the same position as Councillor Shukin did a moment ago. There's nothing else on our agenda that I've got. And so can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Donaldson, and seconded by Mayor Little. Thank you. So all in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thanks so much.
Do you want to proceed that?